now the podcast starts.
Hello, dear listener. This is Dan. Happy New Year, and welcome to the first and now the podcast starts of 2026. This is the podcast on which we talk about horror. Sometimes we talk about other things, and sometimes we swear. Now, if you heard our previous bonus episode which came out on Christmas Day, you will have heard me say that the final episode of this current Christmas season for us would be about the 1989 film of The Woman in Black, giving a nice Christmas ghost story feel appropriate to the season. However, I'm afraid I'm flakier than that, as you've probably come to realise if you're a regular listener to the show, so that episode isn't ready quite yet. Therefore, for the last show of the Christmas season, we're releasing something else, the discussion between Howard and myself about the Amicus anthology films, which has been available to our Patreon supporters for a few weeks, so now the rest of you get to listen to it as well. And the Woman in Black episode will be coming out in a few weeks before the end of January, and my aim is that we will extend a little bit of Christmas magic into January by so doing, because we can never get enough of that Christmas spookiness, I think, or at the very least, I can't. So just to tee up this discussion with Howard, which was recorded between Howard and myself a few months ago, there are several horror anthology movies that were produced in Britain between the mid-60s and the late 70s. Well, in fact, they go all the way up to 1980, and then there is a production which is tangentially related, although not British, from the mid-80s. We'll discuss all that. But just to remind listeners, or tell you for the first time if you haven't heard them, Howard and I have previously discussed the early films in this series. There is an episode in which we talk about 1964's Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, and in that episode we also discuss similar films from the similar period, Torture Garden from 1967, and Tales That Witness Madness from 1974, I think. Then we did a separate episode about the 1970-71 film, The House That Dripped Blood, and I'll put links to all those episodes in the show notes. But the discussion you're about to hear takes in all the subsequent horror anthology movies produced by the American producer Milton Subotsky, either under the name of Amicus Productions or one of his subsequent production houses or affiliations. So we're going to start off with 1972's Asylum, which has already been covered in depth by myself on the Very British Horror podcast, and there is a link to that episode too in the show notes here, because that episode is on our podcast feed. But we do cover a little bit of that movie here as well, because Howard wasn't involved in that discussion and wanted to say a couple of things about that movie. But we also cover all the subsequent Milton Subotsky anthologies. We try not to give too much away, as we realise that most of our listeners may not have seen all of these films. They are quite easily available. A lot of them are on YouTube and for other free platforms, such as, I think, Watch Free UK has a few of them. So I recommend that you check some out before or after you hear this discussion. As I say, we're not going to spoil too much, and there are lots of little stories within these movies, so we couldn't spoil all of them if we tried, I think, within 1 hour-long discussion. So, without further ado, over to myself and Howard from a few months ago. Enjoy.
Cue wibbly wobbly transition. Cue wibbly wobbly transition.
Okay, so we've discussed The House That Dripped Blood. Let's talk about the anthology films that followed. So, Drip Blood was 70-71. The Then in 1972, it was a big year for Amicus Anthologies because we had Tales from the Crypt and we had Asylum. I'm not sure which one came out first. Dear listener, if you want to hear me talk in great detail about Asylum, there's an episode earlier on our feed when we have hosted episodes from our friends at the podcast, A Very British Horror, and they kindly had me on to talk about Asylum. And if you track back in our feed to late 2024, that episode is there.
The most terrifying form of evil is that which lurks within the human mind. Asylum. The ultimate in horror.
This is an asylum for the incurably insane.
Asylum, filled with stark, raving terror. From Robert Bloch, author of Psycho. Asylum. The prison of madness where few enter and none return. See, Asylum. You have nothing to lose but your mind.
Howard, what do you think about Asylum?
Asylum is one I remember is one... it's a very strange memory, really, because I remember watching it. Because I was watching these films, how old was I? 12, 13, 14 when these films were on in the 80s. And we all watch them, everybody at school watched them. We're watching Asylum, and it's all about who is Dr. Starr.
Yes.
I'm not going to say.
Yes.
But we're coming to the end of the film, you've been through all the stories. About to reveal who is Dr. Starr, and then the power went off in our house.
Right.
Whether it was a power cut or a fuse blew, I don't know. But it went off. So I didn't know who Dr. Starr was until I went to school on the Monday morning. And then I found out. But I do remember, I think it's I think this is one of my favourites. I think this is a really good one.
I think it's the best linking story.
I think it's the best linking story. Because it's the only one I'd say where the linking story is the best story.
Yeah.
Because if you include that Herbert Lom and the dolls and everything, that's all...
it all flows together and it kind of leads directly into the last story, doesn't it? And it all comes together. Yeah, I'd agree that. The three stories leading up to that the stories themselves are pretty variable, I think. And they all have slightly naff things in them. Like even the Herbert Lom one has the kind of ludicrous robot toys. But it's a great fun movie, and I think that storyline is so strong, and you've got a great cast.
You have got a great cast. Well, I've told the story before, haven't I, about my dad watching this film, and he couldn't believe that all these actresses, Britt Eklund and Charlotte Rampling and Sylvia Sims, all these actors that he liked, he was watching it. What are all these people doing in this? And I think, the Richard Todd story is good, sort of rest in pieces. Absolutely. He looks like he's not quite sure why he's doing it, but it's...
the stories are mostly fun. What's the next story?
Well, the next one is Barrymore. It's the sword. I have to make the sword. It's a magic... No, it's the stabbings. I need more time to pack.
Of course, that's great.
Yeah.
Because it's Barrymore and Peter Cushing.
Yes.
And one of Cushing's kind of finest moments, I think.
Yes, it is, sort of. And this is after his wife died, so that's there. And he's talking about his dead son. Yeah. And the pain is there, the grief is there. But he's still brilliant. And he's so subtle and he's so understated, and he doesn't... it's a great performance, yes. And that's a really great story. And the third one...
Which is the Britt Eklund, Charlotte Rampling, James Villiers one, is the weakest one, I think.
Yes.
I mean... It's still enjoyable.
It's all right, but you kind of feel you've seen that sort of thing before, and there's not that much of a twist. The twist isn't much of a twist, really, if it is a twist, so...
A woman gets stabbed to death in it, and it's, painfully obvious that the knife has just gone down her cleavage.
Is that Meg Jenkins?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
But it is a great cast, yes.
Yeah.
And Robert Powell. And Amicus did get sometimes these people who would go on to be
Yeah,
big,
yeah.
like Robert Powell, like Charlotte Rampling, like Tom Baker later on. You know, so the all-star cast look even more all-star
Yes.
than they might have done at the time. But this one, yeah, I mean, this was when the British film industry was in a state of impoverishment. There wasn't a lot of work about. I was reading an interview with Kevin Connor, who directed From Beyond the Grave.
yes.
And I always thought that had quite a big budget. That looked quite, the production values are quite high. And he was saying, oh no, we hadn't had any money. We were paying people almost equity minimum.
Right.
But because there was no work about, and because it was only a few days, they did it. You get all these big stars to do it. So, and there are big kind of international stars in Asylum, like Herbert Long and people like that. So, yeah, it's one I remember with great affection, because I remember watching it as a kid and being really affected by it, and the body parts coming to life and all this sort of thing. And yeah, but I think the linking story is, you have to just accept that the little dolls could get in lifts and get onto tables and everything like that. And the revelation who is Dr. Starr is...
It's a great twist.
It's a great, yes.
And
I would not have guessed it was this person.
And it's beautifully done.
Yeah.
They're really well played. Also, that linking story has Patrick Magee in it, and it's a wonderful. It's always wonderful to see him. And
it is who is Dr. Starr? You can guess who is or was Dr. Starr. Oh no, he's great. He's great.
Fantastic.
He was in a few of them, wasn't he?
So, well, on that note, so we also have Tales from the Crypt that year, which McGee is also in.
Yeah.
From the Crypt. Welcome to the Crypt. You are invited on a guided tour of a world of darkness, where nightmares become reality.
So, Asylum is directed by Roy Ward Baker. It's the first Amicus that he did, I think. We talked about his movie, and now the screening starts last year, which was the second film he made for them, and has a lot of cast and crew carry over.
There's a lot of people from Asylum. Well, the three stars around now the screening starts are from Asylum. Which is quite...
Whereas Tales from the Crypt is the return of Freddie Francis to the anthologies. So what do you think of Tales from the Crypt?
I think, in a way, I don't quite know why, but I think this is the most typical. Okay. If somebody said, what is an Amicus anthology film, I'd say, well, watch Tales from the Crypt. I'm not saying it's the best, but to me it seems kind of almost like the most quintessential one, in what the stories are, the cast and everything, and perhaps it is the linking story. All these people are in the catacombs, and where are they, and they have their fortunes told by Ralph Richardson, who I think he said he did a day's work or 2 days' work. He did,
right.
Where are you going today? And sort of, it's got a great Joan Collins murders her husband when a little girl's in the house, but fair enough, that's what happens. Ian Hendry is one of my favourite actors, one of my favourite actors, Ian Hendry.
Oh, yes, we were talking about him in Omen 2 the other week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Directed by the man who directed Get Carter. Mike Hodges.
Those scenes, yeah.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah, right. But yeah, he's in a recurring dream, bit of dead of night thing going on there. Then you've got a very memorable story where Peter Cushing.
Oh,
is,
yes.
This is the one. I mean, this one. You talk about things being unsettling and affecting you. I get quite emotional. I think people get quite emotional watching this one.
This is the highlight of the film because
Yeah.
he plays such a sympathetic character. He's an old man who is like friendly with all the children on the street, but some developers really want to buy his house and redevelop the area, and he's standing in their way, so they smear his reputation. And,
Robin Phillips, who was like the villain of the piece, who seems to live with his dad in this slightly odd relationship.
Right.
I don't know what's going on there. But he sends Peter Cushing these nasty Valentine's cards, like "Nobody loves you, jump in the river," or I can't remember exactly what it says. And when Peter Cushing's reading these cards, and his bottom lip sort of it's almost kind of unbearably moving to watch, because again, this is a man in grief. And his wife just died and everything, and it is difficult to watch that. And when he's doing this kind of séance, when he's trying to contact her as well, sort of thing, you do have to accept Peter Cushing as a dustbin man. Which kind of
this is because the character's wife has just died, or well, maybe not just died, but is dead, and he actually calls her Helen, doesn't he? My wife's name was Helen, which was Cushing's insistence, as he did in The Ghoul and things like that. He made
with her photograph and everything, and that's one. And I won't say what happens, but the guy gets his comeuppance. Quite right.
It's a great little story. Should mention this is the first one to be based on stories from EC Comics. So we got Talisman of Crypt, and then we have the Vault of Horror the following year, which is the same. And in both cases, the EC stories were adapted for the screen by Subotsky himself.
Milton Subotsky, much as I love the man, I don't think he was the greatest writer in the world.
No.
And the dialogue can be a bit banal sometimes, and maybe that's why some people don't like these films. But that one's really, really good. And it's very affecting. Again, because of Peter Cushing's performance, it gets to you. And whereas the next one, which has Robin Hood, riding
Richard, the Richard Crane one,
sort of, he died. I mean, I'm not quite sure I can remember exactly what happens, but he dies, doesn't he?
He dies, and
it's based on the Monkey's Paw, the old story.
Yeah, his family tried to use black magic to bring him back to life, but it doesn't go right.
No.
And it's not very good.
No, it's not very good.
But we'll skip over it because we're only just touching on these movies. But the final story of the film is the one that you mentioned with the razor blade in the Home for the Blind, and that's really good.
It is really
good. If you can stomach the plot hole.
Well, there are plot holes. I mean, there are lots of. How did Nigel Patrick, the man running this, how did he get the job in the first place?
Yeah.
Does nobody from the council ever come to see how he's running it? Do none of these blind men have families that come to see?
Yeah.
But to me, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Those things, you think about those things, but that's not what these films are.
In a way, these stories are kind of little capsules with a punchline, and you just want to be taken on that journey. You don't want to get lost in the ramifications, the wider world. That's not what it's about.
No, it's not real life. This is the Amicus world.
Yeah.
This is the fantasy world. So you just accept what's going on. And that one is really... In fact, I read something the other day that this was almost like a progenitor or whatever of the Saw movies.
Okay.
These elaborate death traps or whatever. And, people are being... not just killed, but sort of tortured as well, kind of. But yeah, I think it's really good. That's a really pretty marvellous one there. And Nigel Patrick's brilliant as this military man.
And also, that's the one that Patrick McGee is in. He's the chief blind man.
Yes.
He kind of speaks for the blind people in this home. And it's, again... he's just kind of magnetically strange in his delivery and everything about him.
Yes, he is. He's sort of... You kind of wonder with those sort of actors, what were they like off screen?
Yeah.
Were they like... what was he like when he was down the pub or with his family? I'd like half a lager, please. And, is that how he talks? Is that we talked in real, kind of...
Have you ever seen the Beasts episode where he plays the
No, I haven't, no.
werewolf expert
No.
guy? It's amazing. It is like just theatre, just the way he stands up and speaks and the energy. And there's a bit later in the story where he has to turn into a werewolf, but there are no special effects. So he just kind of acts the kind of transformation, but he makes it work. It's gripping to watch.
Yeah,
really good.
No, he's a great actor. But I'd like to see him in The Birthday Party. 'Cause I've been reading a lot of Beckett recently. Not Beckett, Pinter, like
Yes.
Harold Pinter. And there's a film version of The Birthday Party made by Amicus Films.
That's the one directed by William Friedkin and starring Robert Shaw.
Dandy Nichols, I think, is in it. Sidney Taffler is the
Wow.
Goldberg part.
I've not seen it. I'd love to.
I'd love to see that. I'd really like to see that because I really like to do that play one day. I think it's a good one. And I'd like to see him in that. I'd like to see him in more non-horror stuff because he did do some big film. He did a film about Galileo and he did Chariots of Fire and stuff like that. So we did a lot of
He's not in Chariots of Fire, is he?
He's in Chariots of Fire.
Is he?
Yeah.
I thought that was after he died. Okay.
It might have been released after he died.
Right.
I'm sure he's in it. Because I was thinking, who could he possibly play in it? I don't know. Maybe somebody at the university or something. I don't know. But I'm sure he's in it.
Right.
I'll check it out, but I'm sure he is. But he did do a lot of very distinguished... He's in King
he,
Lear.
He was in the original production of Waiting for Godot. The original.
Yeah, the original, yes.
And, as a Northern Irish actor, maybe he was on Samuel Beckett's radar. Maybe it was kind of written for him. I don't know. But,
Well, I've got a production of King Lear, which he's in. So,
Yes,
so that's the kind of thing he was
that
doing,
was-
as well as doing
that was
horror
Ro-
films.
Royal
He was
Shakespeare.
doing, yeah,
I think.
the big stuff, kind of thing. So he's great. Yeah, that story's... Yeah.
Yeah. So before we move on to the next film, we should mention Douglas Gamley, because these last two movies are the point when he comes in and takes over the music for Amicus, and then he does all of them. So now we're in Gamley land, and you
Yeah.
mentioned before how much you don't like
I
it.
I
so-
just find it a bit sort of clunky-plunky and a bit sort of... I don't... Compared to James Bernard or Elizabeth Lutyens
Yeah.
and her score for Dr. Terror, it just doesn't... Douglas Gamley just doesn't do it for me. I just can't remember his scores. I mean,
His score seems to be built around established pieces of music, usually. So in a way, the original bits that he writes for in between are almost not memorable by design. Because like the Vault of Horror and Tales from the Crypt, there's a lot of... And also from Beyond the Grave, he uses... the same kind of church music piece that is then used by Wendy Carlos in the score of The Shining, and Asylum. You've got Night on the Bare Mountain as the opening music, and
so that's great.
yeah,
That's how it starts. I mean,
awesome.
Yeah. And Tales from the Crypt, isn't it?
Yes, it's a Catherine Pugh.
So that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. But then I just find his music kind of unmemorable. I can't remember it now.
Yeah.
Where I can certainly remember James Bernard's music and other composers' music. I just so it doesn't really. Maybe that's the point. Maybe you're not supposed to. Maybe it's supposed to complement the film, and it's not supposed to stand out.
I think there's a certain amount of raucousness to it as well. There is an attempt to be kind of James Bernard-ish. Every now and then something happens and the music goes dun dun dun, I would wish for a bit more kind of subtlety, that kind of fluting, lovely quality that the Lutyens score had.
Yes, why didn't they ask her to come back, I wonder?
Yeah, I wonder if she'd retired by then.
Yeah, perhaps, yeah.
We're getting on for a decade after Dr. Sterrers now, aren't we? But so we're in Gamley Land, and the next stop on the train through Gamley Land is Vault of Horror, which is technically the sequel to Tales from the Crypt.
Yes.
But all that means is it's again based on stories from DC Comics titles. It's got a different linking story and everything, but it is made by the same team who made, weirdly, not Tales from the Crypt, but Asylum.
Yes.
Enter death's waiting room, if you dare. Below the crypt lies the Vault of Horror, a treasure chest of the macabre. madness, voodoo, vampires, torture, and terror. All the things that make life worth leaving.
That's how it is. And how it always will be.
The Vault of Horror.
And how it always will be.
The Vault of Horror.
Vault of Horror does... It was interesting because I didn't see Vault of Horror for a long time. I only saw it for the first time about 12 years ago. It was one of the ones that got away.
Okay.
It was never on when I was watching things as a teenager. I don't remember it being on. And all through the 90s. And then just, it must have been about 12 years ago, it was on Film 4. So I watched it, and because I'd never seen it, I quite enjoyed it, because it was all new to me, and I finally caught up with this film I'd never seen. But when I watched it again, I thought, actually, this isn't very good. There are a lot of plot holes, like Daniel Massey going to a restaurant after he's killed his sister, and some of the stories just ridiculous. A man burying himself alive for the insurance money or some such nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean, when it starts with something so preposterous, you can't take it. You know, I know I was saying you go with it and you accept what's going on, but that is so absurd that anybody would do that.
Yeah.
What's the second story? I can't even remember what that... Oh, Terry Thomas, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Terry Thomas.
I think it's pretty good, actually. I mean, that's the neat job story.
Yes.
Where it's all about his new wife, played by the wonderful Glenys Jones.
Glenys Jones, yeah.
Is a klutz, and he's like a very neat and tidy and ordered businessman, and he can't deal with her skittishness, and it gets worse to the point where she ends up killing him, and it's kind of all played for laughs, really.
Yes.
But there is an undertone of kind of misogyny and controlling controlling husband kind of thing to it.
I suppose it is, but to me, perhaps because it's Terry Thomas, and for me Terry Thomas is so lovable and everything, that he doesn't quite... I don't think he quite deserves the fate,
Right, yeah. That's true. He's not
a bad person. He might be annoying,
yeah.
but he doesn't kill anybody. He
Yeah.
doesn't do any really bad things. And so the idea that all these people are being punished doesn't quite work. And I also think Glenys Jones, yes, she's good, but I think she's miscast. I think they should have had a younger actress, maybe someone like Madeline Smith or somebody like that, who is a bit ditzy and
okay.
could do that. The third one with Kurt Jurgens is all right with the Indian rope
And
trick.
Dawn
Adams
looks
great, She climbs up the rope. Then we've got Tom Baker as the artist.
I think this is really good. Okay, so I better preface. I think Vault of Horror is kind of underrated because I think most of the stories are okay. I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think the reason why it feels like the worst one, and it is the worst one, is just because Peter Cushing's not.
No, that is true.
I think.
Or Christopher Lee,
actually.
Or Donald Pleasance, for that matter, kind of.
Yeah, but it does have Tom Baker. It does have
Baker.
Daniel Massey.
That's great. That's Terry Thomas. It's got Dawn Adams, Anna Massey.
The first thing I ever saw Daniel Massey in, and immediately thought he's an interesting guy.
Oh, I like that. Daniel Massey is another one of my favourites. I think he's always good, and he really makes that kind of story work. He really gives a good... He really goes for it.
Yeah, and it's not a great story on paper, but when it's acted by Daniel Massey and his actual sister Anna Massey playing his sister in the story, really, it works really well, I think. Although there are alternate cuts of the film where the end of that story is different.
The only one I've seen is the one with the still photographs,
right?
Where Daniel Massey's hanging upside down with a tap in his neck.
Yeah.
But apparently it's too horrible. I don't know whether this is the American print or whatever, but they thought that's too unpleasant to see him actually hang
Right.
upside down blood. So and also when Terry Thomas gets the hammer in the head,
Right.
it's just a photograph.
Right, okay.
So
I think I have seen the other version at some point, but only like once. It's
I think I've seen it on YouTube. I looked
Right.
it up to see what actually happened, but
Yeah.
I think maybe, and it's not a bad film. The Tom Baker story is good, and he's great,
and
obviously.
I think it'd be nice to mention that because it just calls back to our conversation about Dr. Terrors, which also has a voodoo segment in it. So this is an interesting, slightly different take on that concept in that it is explicitly framed as a white British man who goes to Haiti and says, I want to buy voodoo. He's commercialising it from the start, and then what happens to him, everything that happens is back in England, and it's the consequences of his actions. So you don't really have any of that kind of stereotyping of the culture or anything. And I do think it's a story which has some effective, horrific moments. It's got Dan Elliott in it again.
Yes.
You know, and he's really good.
He doesn't do much, but he's very good.
Yeah. And Baker is really good.
Oh, it's great,
actually.
yes.
Yeah.
He's always great with his big beard.
Yeah.
He did a lot of that. He did the Mutations around about the same time as the Frankenstein TV movie. So, perhaps it's just, I think it is quite good. I just don't think it's quite as good as some of the others.
No.
And none of the stories really stand out the way the Peter Cushing Tales from the Crypt story stands out, or
No,
and the linking story
that's
isn't as good
probably
as Asylum.
Yeah, the linking story is fairly naff, really.
Yeah, but it's been done before. Kind of thing. They've done it in previous ones, sort of thing. Same idea.
I think I said this on the Very British Horror episode about Asylum, but when you compare the opening of Asylum, which is that wonderfully atmospheric Robert Powell's driving through the rain, and it's Night of the Bear mountain on the soundtrack, and then you look at the opening sequence of Thoughts of Horror, which is a slow pan across a sunny day on the Thames to an apartment building, and then a sequence in which a load of men just get in a lift and wait for it to go somewhere, but the music's going dun 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 dun, you know, for ages.
Yes, yeah. No, it's fine. It's good. It's fine. It just doesn't really grab you as much as some of the other ones do. It's not as. Whereas the next one.
Is the next one From Beyond the Grave? Yeah.
This is where the temptation. This is where the temptations begin. Unlimited temptations.
Can I help you at all?
I'll tell you what, I'll give you 25 quid to get rid of it.
It's a deal.
Each concealing a horrendous nightmare that reaches out from the dark world that lies beyond the grave.
Come in. Whoever you are, come in.
If you are looking for excitement, way beyond the normal. No. If you want to test your nerves beyond endurance, come beyond the mirror on the wall. Step beyond this door to the room of no return. Experience the evil with no name. Steel yourself for the visitor in the night. Every step you take brings you nearer the clutching terror from beyond the grave. Find me another.
One quick stab, just order me.
We've got him! Where the white worms crawl from the sinner's grave, leave us forever away!
Denied me life.
Susan!
Ghostly, kept alive by the life essences of those who had been sacrificed to it.
So I watched this last week, and I also re-listened to our conversation from 10 years ago where you said that you thought, although it's not your favourite, you thought From Beyond the Grave was probably the best one because all of the stories are good. There isn't a weak one.
That's true.
And also the linking story is good. And having watched it again, I would agree with those sentiments. Do you still?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Having watched it again recently, I do. Like I say, I thought this had a higher budget. This one looks much more sort of... it's got better production values. You know, the scenes...
I think it's interesting that out of... It's the only one of all the Amicus anthologies that is not written or directed by a person who did any of the others. I know Duffell only did one, but he was working from a script by block. This one has a new director and new writers.
And I think that shows, especially with the writing.
Mm.
Like I say, Milton Subotsky
great.
is not the greatest writer in the world, and Robert Bloch is fine, but this is a fresh approach.
Yeah.
This is like, you kind of feel this is younger people coming in and making this film and wanting to do something a bit different with it and just kind of raise it up a bit and make it less comic strip and less schlocky and then be a bit more sort of sharper and everything, and it is a bit more brutal than because Milton Subotsky didn't really like gore in the films too much, but this one still not that much compared to other things at the time, but the David Warner story is quite gruesome, and the Ian Carmichael story is sort of the comedy one, just because he's a comedy actor really, and
but it has a dark ending.
Margaret Leighton's doing a Edith Evans act kind of thing, and here's a terrible one, you know. Whatever. But the one and the Ian Ogilvy story is good, but the brilliant one, which might be the best story in any Amicus, is the Ian Bannon story, which I watched it again the other night, and people said it was quite like Harold Pinter or something, and it is. It's got this clamminess, it's got this sinister domesticity to it. You have brilliant performances by all of the people, by Ian Bannon, the great Diana Dawes, the great Donald Pleasance.
Well, let me stop you here, girls. What's the only thing creepier than Donald Pleasance? It is Donald Pleasance and his daughter, Angela Pleasance, playing his daughter, and she's going... She's singing to herself, "We knows what we knows and we keeps it to ourselves."
And, you know, Ian Bannon seems to be turned on by that. A lot of men would make their excuses and leave, but kind of, sort of like... and it is, and you really don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
And the twist at the end is not what you expect it to be, kind of thing. It's sort of like... But that marriage is so well portrayed by Diana Dawes and Ian Bannon. They hate each other. Why are they married to each other? They're only married because they haven't got anybody else. And Ian Bannon trying to give himself this more illustrious past as a war hero and trying to impress Donald Pleasance and everything and stealing the medal and everything. There's something kind of clammy about it. There's something really sort of affecting about it, and really sort of... This genuinely is unsettling.
Yeah.
You know, and but there's nothing in it there's no monsters or any, you know, it's just people kind of thing. There's no vampires or anything. It's just these strange people, and like people are scarier than any, you know. Angela Pleasance is it's just so odd.
Also, the black humour to it is really sharp, I think. I mean, it probably won't seem sharp when I quote some examples now, but the way it's kind of seeded into the film. And I noticed this on this viewing from the very first moment of the movie, right after the credits, when the credit sequence takes place in the graveyard, but then the camera pans across to the actual location for the linking story, which is this antique shop. that Peter Cushing runs. But as the camera pans across it, you see the kind of information plaque on the gate of the graveyard, and it says, Pastor Reverend be good enough. And it's like, that's the message of the whole film.
Yes, yeah.
Be good enough, because if you don't, you'll probably get killed, because that's what all the stories are about. People who commit minor infractions.
Yeah, they are kind of minor crimes. Yeah, they're punished by death, kind of.
And then there are other jokes later on. So, like after the seduction scene where Angela Blaze does that song, and then we next see her and Ian Bannon in bed. The plaque above the bed. Do you remember this?
Yes, I do.
It says the wages of sin is death. So Donald Pleasance and Angela Pleasance have put that in their house. I think it's their house, isn't it? And Bannon has not picked up on that at all. He does not. That does not raise any red flags for him.
It's also like Donald Pleasance wears this incredibly good garish tie. When he's going to go out, I'm just going out with the lads, kind of. And he says, she knows some long words. Jaw-breaking words. And there's just a great line where Ian Bannon and Dinah Dawes are having, and the kid are having dinner. And Ian Bannon says, sausages again. And that kind of says everything about that relationship. And sort of, it's just... And I think you'd had to have somebody coming in and writing who hadn't written it before to come in and do something as kind of fresh as that and as original as that.
Yes, I've just read Peter Hutchings' essay about this, and he can point this aspect out, so I think I should flag it up, is that with all the previous anthologies, they were either written by Robert Bloch, who's in America and doesn't really connect to England at all culturally, or they're based on American stuff but then adapted for a British viewpoint by an American writer, Subotsky, whereas this movie is based on short stories by a British writer, Ron Chetwynd Hayes, and then adapted. I don't know actually where the writers were from, but I think they're probably British, because I think the whole thing was like Kevin Connor's project. I think he bought the rights to the stories and brought them to Amicus rather than the other way around. And Subotsky or Rosenberg just went, yeah, that fits in with what we do it, But it's really Kevin Connor's vision.
Yes.
And I think, therefore, because of that consistency of vision, it has a nuance to it that the other movies
It is.
don't
it's
really
much more subtle, and it's much more kind of... And maybe that's why I didn't like it when I was young, because there aren't any vampires or monsters.
Yeah.
It is just people doing terrible things to each other. But that's... I really like it now.
Yeah.
And I think while I said Tales from the Crypt might be the most typical, if I was trying to show somebody Amicus at its best, this is the one I would show them.
I would agree.
And it seems very modern as well, kind of.
That's what I would feel, because it's not only are all the stories good, not only is the linking story good, which has Cushing in it, which raises it to the level of Dr. Towers again as a linking item, because you are always returning to him, and he's on great form as this,
just this great
mock sinister northern
accent.
Yeah.
So. Do you have a certificate?
Yes.
That wouldn't be fair.
Yeah. Naughty. Shouldn't have done that.
And it's also the only one, I thought, it's the only one of all the Amicus anthologies where the stories are actually happening in real time as you watch. They are not being told by somebody else.
Yeah.
All the other ones, somebody's telling the story.
Yeah.
So it's either going to happen, which means it might not happen, you can change your fate. Or... somebody's telling something that's happened in the past, like in Asylum, this is what... And again, did it really happen?
Yeah.
But this is the one where it is actually happening to these people, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And again, that's a new idea, which makes it gives it a bit more jeopardy, because it is actually... It's not a premonition of the future, which could happen or couldn't. It's actually happening to those people as we watch it. So I think that just gives it a bit more sort of edge to it as well. So, yeah, I think this is a really good one. I think this is a good film, not just a good Amicus anthology film. It's a good film.
I want to say as well, I think it's the best looking one.
It's certainly the best looking one. I think.
It has the return of Alan Hume, who photographed Dr. Terrors, but none of the others. And he went on after this to be DP on Roger Moore's last 3 James Bond films, on Return of the Jedi, on Supergirl. He'd worked in TV, done the Avengers. He does a lot of beautiful, visually ambitious stuff, and this movie is full of inventive use of different lenses, beautiful use of colour, ambitious things that maybe I'm not sure if they really work, but I like the vision behind them, like during the seance scene where the camera kind of spins around, and it's really, they've put the candle on front of the camera.
And it moves.
If
you're being pernickety, you can say, "Oh well, isn't it convenient that somebody says, hey, this mirror's like something from a medium's parlour. Let's have a seance." And then later on, the same different people say exactly the same thing. But that's But I think that's why I say. Well, I thought it had a bigger budget. It looked better. It just looks more.
Well, I mean, that's a fault that is sometimes cited, which I think is actually a strength that you've touched on there. Is the fact that two of the stories are almost the same. One story is about David Warner finds an antique mirror that leads to another world, and one story is about Ogilvy buys an antique door that leads to another world. And therefore, I think even though I've seen it a few times over 20 odd years, I find it weirdly unmemorable because those stories kind of cancel each other.
They are the same kind of.
But actually, on viewing it again, it's almost deliberate. I think because the second story doesn't go the way that you were led to expect because you've seen the first story.
They're both stories connected as well to the Googie Withers sequence from Dead of Night.
Yes, the haunted mirror,
and a way into a world where something, from olden days. Jack Watson's world. He's very good as well. I mean, it's another great cast. Everybody's great. Ian Bannon's great down the doors. Margaret Leighton, David Warner. I think, was this his first horror film?
Yes, this was before The Omen.
Certainly wasn't his last. But so he kind of got it. And Leslie Ann Down and all these people, and Ian Ogilvy had done his fair share of horror by that stage. So it's a great cast as well, and I think it is the best.
It's a good one to end on.
It's Dr. Terror still will always be my favourite. My heart is with Dr. Terror, but this is the one I think this is actually a good film. And you could show it to anybody and say this is what Amicus could do. And again, the fact that it's all new people doing it makes it interesting. That if you perhaps needed a fresh,
it has that jolt of freshness, that extra perspective to it that really makes everything work. And in a way,
because there's the jokes as well where doesn't he get the snuff box and Peter Cushing said, "I hope you enjoy snuffing." And that's sort of humour, which is not. It's again very subtle. And it's
but it's threaded through it. It's not kind of jerky. It's, the film feels quite evenly weighted. And even in the comedy segment, which is the Ian Carmichael bit, it lurches into comedy kind of full on for a bit. But then, like I say, that sequence has quite a dark ending.
Yes, it is.
So it does pull back from that.
It's the comedy one, but it's not that comic.
And also, it's horrible things happening to a guy who, like everyone in it, he does something a bit dodgy in the shop, but he doesn't seem to be a particularly bad man.
No, I don't think death is really an appropriate punishment for somebody who tells somebody that a mirror's worth 25 quid when it's 250. I see that on Bargain Hunt all the time. For goodness sake. Again, there was always that sense that people are being punished. A lot of the Amicus films, people are being punished for doing bad things, and certainly some of them are. But some of them aren't. Some of them are not bad people, or they don't do anything that bad. Ian Hendry leaves his wife. Well, all right, that's not very nice in the middle of the night, just leaving her. But does it deserve the same punishment as someone who murders their husband or somebody who ill-treats blind people? Or,
there's not a sense of fairness to it.
It's just whatever the stories were for that one, we fit that into the, framework thing.
So I would say that's a strong recommend for the end.
Excellent film,
From Beyond the Grave as well. So we can mention that the listeners should watch House That Dripped Blood, but also seek out From Beyond the Grave, which was a really nice ending to the Amicus sequence.
It is. They ended on a high.
Sadly, they ended on a high though, because I feel like it should have pointed the way forward for them doing more of films in this style. But sadly, Amicus fell apart as a company at this point. I think Rosenberg and Subotsky maybe fell out. They certainly fell out with a guy called John Dark, who was the associate producer of From Beyond the Grave.
I saw his name go up on the...
So some of the later movies that kind of look like Amicus but aren't, like Warlords of Atlantis, are builders. I think John Dark and Max J. Rosenberg production, whereas Subotsky kind of went off in his own way. And therefore there are a few more anthologies that we'll quickly mention that have Subotsky's name on them, but don't quite belong to the sequence. So the next one Subotsky did was a Canadian production. It's in 1977, and it has lots of British actors, and parts of it are set in Britain, so it feels kind of connected to the same traditions. Peter Cushing's in it. And parts of it look kind of as good, I think, as something like Murder by Decree. It's quite well made in that period of Canadian Film Commission being quite cool and commissioning some quite good movies. And it's actually produced by Claude Hérault, who was the producer of David Cronenberg's early movies.
Oh, I didn't know
but,
that.
I haven't seen the whole film. I've not even mentioned its name. It's called The Uncanny.
There is no shortage of monsters to haunt our dreams. Like the creature from the Black Lagoon, deadly aliens from outer space, giant ants, man-eating sharks, and bloodthirsty grizzly bears. But the most fiendish, the most fascinating, the most terrifying creature of all may be waiting for you round the next corner. Or living right in your own home.
Years ago, people used to believe a cat was the devil in disguise. I'm beginning to think they were right.
No, cut! I said scream. Do you call that a scream? Those are spikes, real spikes, coming towards you.
I just don't feel scared.
I will show you what terror means.
How are you going to convince the people what you're writing about is true?
I had access to the police statements and the doctor's report on the bodies. Believe me, I do know what happened.
There are millions of them, everywhere, spying on us, watching, waiting. When will they pounce?
I have seen it. It's not very good.
I've seen some of it. Cushing is in the linking story, which is all about a man who wants to write a book saying that cats are evil, and he's trying to convince a publisher played by Ray Milland to publish it, and we see some of the stories from the book. So I've only watched the first one, and although it's quite well made and acted, there seems to be a thing which I suspect is a problem with the whole film, is that it's just too stretched out. It's like very, very slender ideas. Really,
it is too stretched out. It's like a woman kills her mistress, whatever, John Greenwood.
Yeah.
Great, of course. And then
it's a really great cast. Again, isn't Pleasance in it later on?
Yeah, Donald Pleasance is in it, and a very fine American actor called John Vernon.
Oh, yes.
He's in a lot of Siegel films.
Great voice, yeah.
Again, you can't fault the actors. You know, the Amicus film, the actors are great. and most of them are giving really great performances. It's just the script. I think this is a really bad script. I don't think it's well written. I like cats anyway, so perhaps I don't like films that say cats are evil. But yeah, the first story is just, stretched. The second story is just ridiculous.
Right.
About the girl doing magic and everything. Even though Chloe France is in it.
All right.
And that is sort of set in Canada, and there's a little girl who was adopted by Charles Bronson in real life, and that's more interesting than anything in the film. The last film, Donald Pleasence is a film star. He's great, of course, and he kills his wife or something, who has a cat, and to marry Samantha Egger. Well, there's a joke at the end. You know the joke at the end? No. I can't say it because it will spoil the thing, but it's like the whole story's leading up to that joke.
Right.
Well, I can't say, can I?
Right. Well,
and then the linking story is, it's a bit naff. It's I don't know.
Yes.
It feels like one of those films that's made as a kind of tax dodge or something, you know.
Right. Like I say, well made, but not a huge amount of fun from what I've seen so far.
No, it's not fun. It's not as...
I mean, it's quite po-faced as well, yeah.
But it is the last horror film where Peter Cushing gets top billing, and I know it's only alphabetical.
Right.
He gets top billing because his name's... But it is... it always strikes me this is the last film where he is the star. He gets top billed. And after that, it was just sort of supporting roles in things, really.
And sadly, the last two anthologies we're going to mention, he's not in, so they fall into that category. So Subotsky's next production was a 1980 going back to Britain, and again directed by Roy Ward Baker. So there's a certain amount of getting the band back together. Douglas Gamley is doing some of the music for it, for instance. But it's not Amicus, it's billed as a sword and sorcery production, and it is The Monster Club, which stars Vincent Price, John Carradine, and Donald Pleasence. So it has three great horror stars in, but it doesn't have Cushing or Lee.
I will take you to a place where my friends foregather. There you will find stories of such blood-curdling terror it will make your toes curl and your hair reach up towards the sky.
He likes to take you by surprise. He likes to leave a very special calling card.
It was the best blood I have ever tasted.
He's giving you a very special invitation. 3 stories to shock you, chill you, thrill you, and make you laugh.
There's a face at my window as the darkness closes in.
Everybody knows about garlic and stakes through the heart.
Yes, we all have our cross to bear.
I'm just a sucker, boy, I'm just a sucker, boy, just a sucker, boy.
You are one of his kind now. You have to be safe by your own men.
Songs by B.A. Robertson.
Don't you look down on me!
Night.
With the strange twisted.
The Pretty Things. The Viewers.
Tell me I'm not going to let you go until you do.
We must have our food.
But remember, he likes to take you by surprise. You've been invited to the Monster Club. Come at your peril.
Milton Subotsky wanted Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, and Klaus Kinski.
All right.
Because they were all like the big horror stars of the time.
Right.
To get Klaus Kinski, but he, but yes, he got Vincent Price, John Carradine, Donald Pleasence, who are all great.
Yes.
But and Patrick McGee's in it, and Jeffrey Baildon's in it briefly. So
Oh,
he's
yes.
like getting the band back together. It's sort of like, but I always feel about this film, it's made for an audience that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
It's gone. The time has gone. It's out of its time, and it doesn't know what to do. So it's still trying to do. The stories themselves are sort of like the old Amicus anthologies, but it's set. The linking story is really just absolutely dire.
Yeah.
Where Vincent Price and John Carradine go to this club where all these monsters, they are people just in terrible masks.
Yes.
That apparently, well, the rumour was they were made by Milton Subotsky's milkmen.
Right.
But they weren't made. They were actually made by somebody who worked for the Milk Marketing Board. But he was also a designer, and
Right.
So. But they are absolutely awful, aren't they?
Yes, yeah.
And there's also some really terrible pop music as well.
there's-
B.A. Robertson, for God's sake!
There are live bands playing in the Monster Club
Yeah.
during the the linking segments, and therefore you've got UB40 and things.
Well, they're all right.
I mean, not UB40, but the mixture of a genre is a bit desperate, really.
It's like Milton Subotsky going back to his roots. And Dr. Terror, where he had Kenny Lynch and Roy Castle, he had music people, because he'd made musicals before that. So that was a little insurance. Think, well, even if the horror fans don't come, the music fans might come and see it. But Roy Ward Baker, in an interview I read, said the problem is with getting pop acts like that is that when you make the film, they might be big. When the film is released, they're forgotten.
Yeah.
And I remember B.A. Robertson. He was always on Swap Shop in those old days. And he's not awful. And the pop music, and you have to listen to the whole song, kind of thing. And just what Vincent Price and John Carradine thought when they were... I like to think they filmed all their bits and then got the hell out of there before the music began. But
they are very charming together.
They're great, and you make... This is what it is. It could have been so much better if certain things were... And in the final story, which is all about human-goos, human and ghouls, there's a really great... I've talked about it before, there's a really great sequence which is just done with illustrations.
Yeah.
Stuart Whitman's playing this film director who finds himself in a village full of these really strange people. Patrick McGee is one of them, so there we are. That's how strange they are. And he finds this book and it explains what's going on. I thought that's really well done.
Yeah.
Seeing it in illustrations, in pictures rather than... And James Lawrenson's very good in the first one, and the second one...
The second one's funny. That's the
funny.
one with Donald Pleasance. That's the one where there is a vampire in it, and that a vampire hunter, and the vampire is apparently killed. But then after the vampire hunter's gone, he gets up and says, "Good thing I was wearing my steak-proof vest."
Yes. Now, I don't know how you think of that. I thought that was pretty terrible.
I mean, it probably is terrible. I feel like...
With tomato sauce in, which never looks like blood anyway. So,
Right.
But it was funny, kind of like... There's a bit where Neil McCarthy and Anthony Valentine are carrying Donald Pleasance, his body out on a stretcher. And Neil McCarthy's trying to open the gate and it keeps closing. And so the music's going do 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 as he's trying to open the gate. So I thought that's funny.
Right.
That's a funny little joke. And Neil McCarthy knocks his head as he's going. But the whole thing is just out of its time. It's released the same year as Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
That's where horror is then. It's
Yeah.
not Amicus anthologies anymore. They were of their time, and this just feels a bit sad.
No, it is. And that was Subotsky's final active production, but there are a couple of movies that his name is on, and one of them is a horror anthology, so we'll mention it, but it's very different from the Amicus links. It's a 1985 Hollywood production called Cat's Eye, and it's based on Stephen King short stories and adapted for the screen by King. And I believe what happened is Subotsky bought the rights to a load of Stephen King stories, and because he always had an eye for the coming chance, didn't he? Bless him. And then when he couldn't get them produced himself, he sold the rights. But he didn't sell the rights. He licensed the rights to, I think it's Dino De Laurentiis who made it.
Yes.
And part of Subotsky's deal was, I want a producer credit on this movie, so it says co-produced by Milton Subotsky, but apparently he had nothing to do with it.
Experience a series of electrifying adventures as seen through Stephen King's Cat's Eye.
Where's your sense of humor?
Stephen King's Cat's Eye.
The movie itself is okay. It has one segment with a nicely designed and realised Carlo Rambaldi monster goblin creature.
Yeah, the Barrymore one, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long time since I've seen it, so there's somebody who walks around on a ledge, isn't there, or something?
Yeah, it's quite well done. It's directed by Louis Teague, but it's got a very weak linking device, which is a cat wanders round. And,
yeah, that's not...
although there are familiar faces and names in it, it's not the kind of all-star cast.
No. It's not, I mean,
it doesn't
it's got James Woods and people like that.
It's not, and also some of the stories are a bit desperate. I think Stephen King, at his best, is a brilliant writer, but he's also a workaholic writer who churns out loads of stuff, and he does write loads of crap stories.
Well, yes, I remember them at that time in the 80s. Then anything with Stephen King's name on.
Yeah.
Every book he ever wrote, every short story he ever wrote, however good it was or bad it was made into a film or something. I mean, everything. He was an industry kind of in himself, and a lot of it wasn't very good, just because. You know.
Well, Maximum Overdrive, the film that he directed based on his short story Trucks.
Yes, I'm quite fond of a film called Creepshow.
That's an anthology, isn't it? I've never seen that.
That's good. Again, a lot of the stories kind of the same, more or less, but that has a kind of all-star cast. Hal Holbrook and Leslie Nielsen, people like that, E.G. Marshall.
Directed by George A. Romero.
Yes.
I'd really like to see... I've seen Creepshow 2, which I enjoyed.
Yes.
Which is apparently much weaker. But
I think Creepshow's better. It's got 5 stories in it, and there is no linking story. So there's something at the beginning, some at the end, but there's no real linking story. It's just like the pages of a comic.
Right.
So, it's not great. 1 or 2. The Stephen King story's not very good. But it's just kind of like, it seems more in the Amicus line than maybe Cat's Eyes.
Right.
It's sort of like...
and then the final footnote is that because Subotsky bought the rights to a load of Stephen King stories, another one was later made into a movie and he got a credit on it, and that is The Lawnmower Man. So that was Subotsky's final credit in 1993, I think that movie came out. Or 4. So we've gone through the whole Amicus sequence and its legacy there.
He was a trier, Milton Subotsky. I mean, I in English Gothic, the book that Jonathan Rigby is a little bit rude about. He doesn't really have anything that good to say about Milton Subotsky.
Yeah,
but at the end, there's an epilogue or something, or an afterward, whatever. Has it been David McGillivray?
Yes, it is, the writer of Frightmare.
And he says, well, I'm going to defend... He said, obviously Jonathan Rigby doesn't like Brian Donlevy, Milton Subotsky. I couldn't care less about Brian Donlevy. But Milton Subotsky, I will stick up for him. He made some fun films. He employed a lot of technicians and people.
Yeah, he came to Britain and added to our industry.
So, and I feel the same. I think he's someone... Maybe not all the films were great. And maybe he wasn't the best writer in the world. But he went out there and he made these films. And all he wanted to do was entertain people. That's all these... films, the Amicus films, anthology films particularly, all they want to do is entertain people. They've got nothing profound to say. They're not they're not pretentious or anything like that. They just go with it and enjoy them, and they're fun, and you'll have a good time if you just take them for what they are. And I think they're really great. I think watching them again, they look better now perhaps than I thought a few years ago. And again, like, it's the cast. So many of my favourite actors are in these films. Yeah. Obviously Peter Cushing and Donald Pleasence and Christopher Lee, Ian Hendry and Diana Dawes and Burgess Meredith and Roy Castle and all these people, Ian Bannon, and they're all, most of them are really great, giving great performances and everything, and I just think they're fun, and they perhaps they're not quite as well crafted as the best of the Hammer films, but that's what they are. And
they're not as ambitious in a way. They're deliberately avoiding the Hammer period trappings and things, so they don't have to... mostly they don't have to recreate those kind of historical sets and things, although in flashes you see bits of it, like in the 2 bits in For Ombre on the Grave, where you go through into the spiritual worlds. And naturally that's quite well done. But But I think they're deliberately avoiding.
Yes, it's a counterpoint to Hammer, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's something else. It's something different to what they were doing, and the Amicus films were not set in Transylvania or Karlstadt or whatever the places were. They're setting housing estates in London or tower blocks or
in modern day.
Yeah, in modern day, and people are just they've got proper jobs and everything, and it's sort of like it's very effective because it feels like horror is there, in the real world kind of thing, and these and killer pianos and crawling hands, and it's great. How can you? I know some people probably find them a bit too whimsical or a bit too facile or whatever. I can't go with it. But and they're fair enough. That's fair enough. But for me, that's what I like.
I agree with you. I think I'll be watching bits of these films probably for the rest of my life.
Watching, and when I watched House of Drip Blood last week, I thought this is really good, and I know I'm going to watch it again sometime.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. And these actors, they've all gone now. Very few of the people from those films are still around. But you're watching them do their thing then, and in a way, thank goodness the British film industry was in such a parlous state in the 70s, or else you wouldn't get all these people in the McKenna.
I actually think some of the most interesting films were made then, because of that desperation. They tried a lot with, like Satanic Rites of Dracula, is one of my favourite films.
Theatre of Blood, Wicker Man.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and a lot more went into those sort of films than went into. I mean, what else was British film industry doing in the 70s? Crappy sex comedies with Robin Asquith.
Yeah.
Or TV spin-offs.
Yeah.
At least these horror films, there's some thought gone into them and some craftsmanship and some ingenuity and originality and everything, and they're trying to make something.
Yeah.
Not all the horror films of the 70s can be said, but a lot of them, the Hammer ones and the Amicus ones, are always trying to...
Yeah, people like Chris Wicking, really working hard to find a new direction.
Yeah.
Maybe not always succeeding, but definitely trying things out. And as a result, I think loads of those movies still have a freshness to them. And
well, they're still being shown.
Yeah,
and that's
wonderful.
Something.
When I rewatched From Beyond the Grave, I had a feeling which I've not had for a while, which I used to have all the time, which is like, I can't wait to show this movie to someone who's not seen it before and see what they think, because there's so much, so much joy to be shared, I think, and so much quality that it doesn't get sung about, and it would be lovely to just spread the word about that, which is indeed why we're here, Howard.
Yes, but yeah, if our words can inspire people to watch these films, then our lives will not be in vain.
Yes, absolutely.
And they should. The fact that we love them so much, even after all this time. I'm talking about films I saw 40 years ago or more, and I'm still watching them, and I'm still enjoying them, and they still mean something to me. Surely that means that those films, it's not just nostalgia. It can't be just... Because there's other things I watched at that time which I've forgotten all about. But those films still have a resonance. I still watch them and I think, yes, this is good. The acting's good, the direction's good, the writing, even the music.
Yeah.
If it's not. The fact that they are still being shown, surely that indicates that they were good.
Yes.
And the critics always seem to be more positive about Amicus films than they were about Hammer. They were more dismissive about Hammer. But from what I've seen, Amicus films usually get a pretty good review.
Okay.
Even in Halliwell.
Right.
He's sort of not...
He
can be quite brutal about Hammer ones sometimes, but all the Amicus ones get...
Yeah, he likes nearly all of them, I think. Whereas you get the sense that when he gives a Hammer film a good review, it's kind of a bit begrudging, like he doesn't like this kind of movie,
no.
He will admit this is good. That review of The Curse of Frankenstein, where he says it had a gruesome sense of style, but we've suffered from the films it gave rise to. But,
So I'm not knocking Leslie Halliwell, because his books changed my life and got me into old films, so...
No, indeed.
But yeah, so that's the Amicus anthology films, and very good they are too.
Yes, so it's taken us 10 years, but we've got through.
Yes,
so
it has. We got there in the end. See, that's fortitude. Never give up.
Yes, well, and there are luckily still lots of other Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing projects which we can talk about.
Oh yes, we will. This
so
is
we'll
not
keep
the
doing
end.
this for
Good heavens.
years to come. But we've done all the Amicus.
Yes, we've done all the Amicus ones.
Hey.
But yes, there's still... Well, there's The Creeping Flesh, which I haven't seen for a long time.
Oh yeah, I've not seen that for 20 odd years.
We haven't talked about The Skull, have we?
We haven't,
no.
no.
So
The many that we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
The Mummy,
God, yes.
The Gorgon, and there are still some that I've not seen yet. I've still not seen The House of the Long Shadows.
I did watch that, actually. I watched that when my mum was in hospital after a stroke.
Right.
And, yeah.
Okay. I guess that's
Say
a
no more.
conversation to be had. It can
Peter
only...
Cushing's very good in that, but...
It's the last one, isn't it? Therefore, it can only be disappointing. If it's
Yeah.
not the best one, it's going to be disappointing.
Yes, yeah.
And I think we've well, no, we've not covered the best yet. There's still plenty of really, really good ones we've not covered. But the actual chronological progression of the Lee and Cushing movies was very much up and down, kind of
Yes,
throughout.
yeah.
Very good, very good. Not so good, very good, not so good.
That's true of any actors.
Yeah.
All film actors have been in bad stuff. You know, that's part of it.
But we've been talking about them for a decade, and doesn't that just show that I don't think we were mistaken in how we felt about them 10 years ago. We still feel the same.
Perhaps even more so. The way the world is at the moment, these things perhaps mean even more now. And there's something to cling on to. And so, Milton Subotsky, I salute you.
Thank you, Milton. You changed our lives. You've made our lives better.
Yes, you have made our lives better.
Long beyond your own life, you continue to transform the lives of others. So that's Amicus. Howard, thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. They're great films. Great people.
Indeed. Oh, well. And thank you very much, listener, for having us in your life. We hope that we've added something to your day as well. Next episode of the podcast, I'm not sure what we'll be talking about, but hopefully something surprising. So watch this space. Thanks again, and you will hear from us in future. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to And Now the Podcast Starts, an Ambisol podcast, presented by T.D. Velasquez and Howard Whittaker. Special thanks to Greg Hume for our original theme music. Our original artwork is by Kirsty Warrow. Please search One Crow Left on Instagram, Etsy, or Redbubble to see and purchase more of Kirsty's work. All clips from films, TV shows, trailers, and musical works are used for the purposes of criticism in the spirit of fair use as defined in the US law and fair dealing as defined in the laws of Commonwealth nations. No copyright infringement is intended. Please visit our home on the web, andnowpodcast.com, for more content and contact details. You can follow us on Mastodon, Blue Sky, and even Twitter, which we refuse to call X. It's an insult. X the unknown. Our handle for each is @andnowpodcast. We're also on Facebook as @andnowpod. And finally, Threads and Instagram as _podcast_starts. Sorry about that. If you'd like to donate to help us with the costs of making the podcast, please visit patreon.com/andnowpodcast. Donors get early access to upcoming content and other exclusives. This podcast was produced and released by Ambidextrous Solutions Limited. And now the podcast stops.